RK's Guyana Free Media presents for human development and national development this message.
Dearest, most beloved divine friends and families of Guyana, friends and families around the world, yours truly, Haji Brother Dr. Roshan Khan, with part 10 of Guyana's election fiasco, the Guyana's election update. The shame and the embarrassment to Guyana, in Guyana and around the world, the pains being caused, the insults and the mockery being caused is tumultuous and truly disgraceful. I wish to state, dearest friends and families, that today I went by Commerce Street and High to purchase some parch nuts. That's my favorite place to get beautiful, fresh, white parch nuts. And then to pick up something at Haq's Halal right there. And strange enough, as I'm buying the peanuts, an Afro-Guyanese enthusiast, a man maybe in his late 50s, going to 60s, starting to abuse me. Talking about the ballot boxes, so, and they go throw it out, and you're all Indians, and you want power. And I haven't done anything to the gentleman, or to anybody. I'm talking in love and joy and purchasing from everyone, showing love and harmony, making jokes with everyone. And then another set of guys are looking like they're shaking their head supporting him. And I just had to say, sir, you greeted me and I greeted you back. But when you're talking things like this, I want you to know that I only speak to brilliant people, to wise people, not people of economic power or strength or might, but decent, elegant, brilliant people who speak with wisdom. I was very hurt. And this is not the first one that's happening. I'm ashamed to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, a few days ago, the first night, when the containers were taken to be tabulated at the Outer Chunk Convention Center, I was there as a security operative, looking after law and order and the premises to which I am contracted to guard. I'm very serious about my professionalism and the duties I perform. So I went to motivate my ranks, taking a snack for them and for the other shift. And in the meantime, the other guys are there and we're chit-chatting. They were no members of the APNU, strange enough, but or the AFC, but they were members of all the other political parties. And we know each other. Guyana is a small country. And I speak in love with everyone. So we chit-chatted a little bit, smiling and making some jokes. That's what I normally do, without getting emotionally involved in the matter at hand. I was shocked, though, to see later on the police formed a barricade and are pushing these decent youths, mostly youths, in that compound. We see this around the world. We saw it in Egypt when the youths caused the downfall of the regime in Egypt and what was called the Arab Spring. I'm surprised that they would eject the youths with such vigor and shame and disgrace and threat. The police actually threatened them with arrest and lockup, which means they could be thrown in a vehicle and beaten, all kinds of things. We know what happens in police custody most times. And they threatened the guys, and they were formed this barricade, and they're moving and they're shifting. And one of them, I'm so disappointed with this guy in the police force. I keep on saying the institution of the Secretariat of the Police Commissioner is an institution, not a commissioner's office, bearing a name. An institution of law and order, elegance and decency. And I keep on saying, we do not want our police to be made into a terror squad like Papa Doc of Haiti had and his son, the Tonton Makouts, or the Mongoose squad of Eric Gary. We don't want that in this country. Those guys were there quiet and peaceful. Suddenly they decide, they turn off the lights and they spray the place. They said they're disinfecting the place and throw some extra one outside to inconvenience. The guys, there were no protesters, no bad behavior. All they were doing is sitting, having their snacks, reading, a lot of them are students who want to sacrifice for their country. Who is the authorities in the country right now and the powerhouses and the political one or two politicians who are pulling the strings of the commissioner and the police department to embarrass these youths and to bring shame and hate in Guyana? The people are going to hate the police. The people are going to hate the commissioner's office. This is what I'm worried about, and that is what Sealal's former commissioner letter was most prudent and well placed and well sent out. Government of Guyana, APNU, you have a lot of friends, you're beginning to lose them. PNC, you're beginning to lose your friends. Good friends you have. Supporters. Some of them might have voted for you. You're losing them because not everyone can behave like that. Not everyone can be clandestine and conspiratorial. Not everyone can harass and brutalize and abuse. Very shameful. I'm very, very disappointed. And the thing about it, when you correct some people, you tell them some things, they try to destroy your life. Que sera, sera, what will be, will be. Everything is in the hands of the Creator. You make life difficult for one, your lives and the lives of your families will be made difficult. If not by hurt and pain by someone, by disease and sickness and illness, because the thoughts that you put out psychosomatically are the thoughts that will enter into your body and affects you and affects all around you and those that you love the most. Believe me, I believe in this form of divine retribution. Mr. President, I have in hand here President of Guyana. I always call you President. I always write you with respect. I treat you with dignity. I will always do that, now and forever. This is how I am made up. This is what I was given by God in my heart. Never to be rude to a president or a leader unnecessarily, to harass or anyone whatsoever. I like to live with dignity and respect. In my hand is a letter from one of your colleagues, sir, Joseph G. Singh, Major General, retired, of the Guyana Armed Forces, known as the Guyana Defense Force. And he wrote you an open letter, and reading it, I thought it wise that I need to read this letter. For those who might not have had the ability to read it in the newspapers or get the newspapers, I will send it out as part 10 of Election Fiasco, part 10 Election Update, Guyana, by yours truly, the Guyana, RK's Guyana Free Media, which is a creation of mine. Dear Mr. President, I respectfully pen this open letter to you via the media in the hope that you will realize the national importance I have attached to taking this step. I am placing my neck on the line that you are being manipulated by persons who do not have the best interests of our beloved Guyana at heart and who are prepared to hold you hostage to their own evil inclinations and to manipulate you and the constitution of this country to achieve their own personal and collective goals, unbothered by the catastrophic impact their actions to date are having on national morale, on the fears and anxieties of all Guyanese, whether or not they are supporters of your political party. If you may have read my earlier letters, you would have noted that I hold no brief for any political party. By choice, I have never voted in any national regional elections because I pledge to serve my country and not any political party. My loyalty is to the Constitution. And you and all of your predecessors as presidents and commanders-in-chief knew this and respected me as a professional. How else do you think I was appointed to or held very senior positions in the armed forces? Then as chairman of GCOM, as head of Conservation International, Guyana, CEO of GT&T, chairman of NARI, chairman of the GGMC, chairman of the Protected Area Trust, and as a non-political special assistant to 3 presidents, including you, sir, until after having been deemed by you to be not a fit and proper person, as a principal I chose to resign from all government appointments. I record these things not to beat my own drum, but to emphasize that there are certain principles which must be held as sacred if we are to live our lives in an unselfish service to our country and to our fellow citizens. You are at the crossroads where you have to now choose between pampering to a cabal who bode you no good and who certainly do not have the national interests nor your interest at heart. In their warped, self-centered way, they are manipulating the Constitution, the supreme law, and their allies in various national institutions and services of this land to serve their purpose. It matters not to me which political party has the majority votes and forms the government. What matters to me, and I'm sure to all right-thinking Guyanese as well as the regional and international community, is that the electoral process reflects the will of the people. Democratically held elections managed through processes that reflect transparency, integrity, and adherence to the rule of law and to the Constitution. Mr. President, I was puzzled by the fact that an election which, for all intents and purposes, went smoothly on March 2nd, has degenerated into a witch's brew of mismanagement by GCOM, misinformation, threats, violence, and excessive use of force, manipulation of officers and ranks, and propaganda spun by spin doctors weaving a web of deceit and in which you seem to be entrapped. The assessments of accredited local, regional, and international observers must have been known to you, and yet you seem to shelter under the false premise that because you allow GCOM to function without interference, you are somehow absolved of complicity in the deteriorating governance of the electoral process, which has made this country the laughing stock of the region and which is rapidly degenerating into a pariah state in the assessments of those who, rightly or wrongly, are the determinants of what constitutes a failed state. I was heartened, Mr. President, when last Sunday, in the season of Lent, and like Saul in the road to Damascus, you had an epiphany, perhaps finally awakening to the realization, as your courageous son-in-law, Dominic Gaskin, did, that something was rotten in the governance of the electoral process and that you needed to act independently and decisively to salvage your legacy and redeem the pride lost. This was acknowledged by the statement made by the chair of CARICOM on Tuesday, 17th March 2020. Honourable Miyamoto stated that the fielding of the CARICOM team had been at your request on Saturday, 14th March 2020, and that its mission was to supervise the recounting of the ballots in Region 4 of the general and regional elections of 2nd March 2020 in Guyana. She further stated, given that the tabulation process has been widely viewed as not being transparent or credible, President Granger and Mr. Bharat Jagdeo, leader of the opposition, agreed that the only possible solution was by way of account supervised by an independent team. This was seen as a significant contribution to bolstering the transparency and legitimacy of the electoral system. Not surprisingly, the chair of CARICOM yesterday conveyed to us this telling message. It is clear that there are forces that do not want to see the votes recounted for whatever reason. And dramatically she stated, any government which is sworn in without a credible and fully transparent vote count could process would lack legitimacy. Let me read that again. She stated, any government which is sworn in without a credible and fully transparent vote count process would lack transparency, legitimacy. Mr. President, this statement comes from your colleague, the Honourable Prime Minister of Barbados, and not from some foreign representative of a superpower, whom we seem fond of accusing of interference or of talking down to us. In my book, the chair of CARICOM made serious allegations, and since you were the one to request the CARICOM team to supervise the recounting of the ballots in Region 4, subsequently extended to all the 10 districts, I believe we are owed an explanation from you, sir. I repeat, we are owed an explanation from you, sir, Mr. President, according to retired Major Joe Singh. Major General Joe Singh. As to what conspiracy is afoot that would sabotage your laudable initiative, which was agreed to by the leader of the opposition and made possible by the chair of CARICOM and her colleague heads of government, 3 of whom accompanied her to Guyana, to send a strong message of support, care and concern for our country, a member of the CARICOM family, and for the well-being of all Guyanese. That such a commendable initiative should be stillborn as a result of an injunction originated from your own party sends a worrying message that either you are being Machiavellian or being manipulated, or you have simply lost control over the actions of members of your own inner circle. Whatever may be the reason for this embarrassment to you, to us citizens, and to our country's image, is no trivial matter. If the minions who are behind this conspiracy are not identified and exercised like a cancerous puma from the body politic, we will all suffer from the contamination and penalties we are likely to be faced with, which are an illegitimate government and being deemed a pariah state. Mr. President, I've always held you in high esteem as a colleague and friend of nearly 6 decades. I've forgiven you for classifying me and other nominees for the chairmanship of GCOM as not fit and proper persons, but I will not forgive you if you fail in the honorable duty of calling off the dogs of war. I repeat, I will not forgive you if you don't fail to do the honorable duty of calling off the dogs of war. Repetition mine. The dogs of war. Exercise them condigently. Exercise them condigently from wherever they are hatching their moves and counter moves. We long-suffering Guyanese, fooled by mirages of good life. My emphasis, the good life. Vote for so-and-so. Back to Joseph Singh's letter. Are hurting, are embarrassed, and are angry. Let this poisoned chalice pass, Mr. President. I repeat, let this poisoned chalice pass, Mr. President. If you feel you are boxed in a corner and need reinforcements, then there are enough Guyanese of goodwill and decency who will raise to the occasion. Ensure the recount is completed transparently and with alacrity. Whichever political party is finally declared to have the majority votes must be acknowledged as legitimate and be allowed to form the government. Such government must be prepared to govern in the best interests of all Guyanese, and with such inclusivity and consensus as will facilitate a sustained process of reforms that will have promised yet failed to deliver to successive generations. Mr. President, when the chair of CARICOM was about to depart Guyana, she had an engagement with the media in which she stated to all Guyanese that the stability of our country was in the hands of the returning officer of District 4. You only know too well what has transpired since that statement, and my point here is that I was there and I witnessed the shenanigans of GCOM, and in particular that of the CU in cahoots with Mr. Mingo, the RO of Region 4. It is now your duty to exercise the leadership responsibilities vested in you and to direct with GCOM the peaceful and orderly completion of the electoral process by ensuring the mission is accomplished. That is, the agreed recount of all ballots cast in 2020 general and regional elections in an environment conducive to security, transparency, integrity, and credibility of the results. If the mission succeeds, it will be a positive contribution to your legacy. I have high expectations that you will not fail us. Thank you, Mr. President. Yours sincerely, Joseph G. Singh, Major General, retired Guyana Defense Force. Dearest friends and families around the world, will a day ever come when in Guyana that we can concede to the victor? Let us assume that the People's Progressive Party and Irfan Ali wins the election. Can President David Arctic Ranger do something spectacular before it is announced and concede? Or if Irfan Ali and the People's Progressive Party is impressed that the APNU has won the elections after this recount, will they have the compunction of elegance and decency, PPP and Dr. Irfan Ali, to say, we concede to President David Arctic Ranger and to the APNU AFC as the victor of the 2020 polls? Dearest friends and families, yours truly, me, Haji, Dr. Ocean Khan, wishing you well and saying farewell, friends.